All right, we'll call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock, starting with roll call. Ruben Parker,
Leanne LaPlante.
Jacob Bemis.
Virgil McDonald. Selectman.
a review approval of the agenda. I think an amendment that we'll make is we don't have the minutes for the December 2nd or the 16th meeting. So we'll scratch those for tonight and move those to the next meeting. Any other adjustments? I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with those adjustments.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
So from new business, we have final review of the school budget. They actually have a school board meeting tonight, so they sent the answers to the questions that we had asked in the last meeting. And I think everybody has a copy. Okay, so we can just talk through those. So the first bullet, I think, is just confirming the total impact of the combined ACS and high school, a bottom line increase of 135,000. So there's nothing necessarily to research there or to kind of confirm in the book. The next item at the joint budget committee meeting reviewing the Prospect Mountain budget, there was a recommended adjustment of $5,000. They're actually going to vote on that tonight, I believe, or make a decision, the school board, on whether they're going to adopt that or not. So he does include the adjustment here. So it would basically decrease our total by just over 2,500. The next item is on page 17. Ready. Just trying to find the so if I'm reading this right, he's talking about why it went down, but it looks to me like it went up. Am I reading that right? On page 17. 2020, 2021. Oh, sorry, I get it now. So 2020 to 2021, it was 45,000. They had lowered it for the current budget. Because they were going to hire someone, they didn't end up hiring someone, and so they're bringing it back up. That makes sense. That makes sense to everyone. Or any questions on it?
Makes sense to me.
The next one's on page 20. Placement. So essentially, it seems like it's lower because they used COVID funds to purchase some devices. Any discussion on that one? And I think on the next one, we just had a broad conversation about what the 1200 section was. This is just answering that,
This is special education.
right? And so it covers a lot of costs for tuition for needing to send kids to schools outside of.
Are they
Hours.
using any money out of their special education fund?
Do they have a reserve fund for that?
Oh, yes, they do. When I was on the board last, it was almost $1 million something.
One of the early pages lists their funds.
Looking for it, I didn't see it in here.
Yeah,
They have a special education fund.
well, that's a good follow-up question for him. Yeah, we can take that back to Tim. 28. Salary for advisors.
Yeah, I got it here. Their reserve fund is, well, it's 403,819 now.
Is that on that list?
It's on,
Oh, got it. It's the first line. It's not, doesn't have a page number. It's right. It's like the. So I think a good follow-up though is when do they use this versus when do they budget for it? Because it is going up pretty significantly. If I remember right. Yeah, 276,000. Any questions on the salary advisors on page 28? That explanation? And then on the last item that he had, I think that we clarified that in the meeting. I didn't have any follow-up questions on that. That was the shift to the shared service model. Page 59. Everyone good?
Yeah.
So we'll vote on this after the public hearing next time, but this was an opportunity to make sure we had any questions that we had answered, so. But I will take that one follow-up to Tim, and we can certainly talk about it on the 11th next week. So the next agenda item is to review the warrant articles. And I believe this is everyone's first time seeing them. So for Leanne and Jake, for your perspective, we basically are, we will vote again after the public hearing on any that have money associated with them, and they say budget committee kind of after them. So I went through in advance and just circled them. Hopefully I got them all, but so we can just talk through them here. I think much of it is obviously, you know, Article 10 is the budget that we've been working towards this whole time. 10 and 11, and then much of the other ones are the capital reserve items. So at our last, I think it was our last meeting, we got to look at kind of the spreadsheet that was the capital reserve. So this is just the individual line items that kind of make that up. And then I think the last part is the articles for some of the community requests. But we can go through each one of them and go from there. Again, we would vote on them at our, after the public hearing at our next meeting. And so I think Article 9 is the first one that let's take any action on, if I saw that correctly.
Yes.
And this, the benefit payable expendable trust, sounds like it's been around since 2001. I do know there's line items in department budgets for some of this as well. Is there it maybe it's something different, but it's similar. I see
The
you shaking
operating
your-
budgets have a benefit buyout line.
That's what I'm
too,
thinking of.
But that's for yearly. If somebody sells back, the personnel policy allows you to sell back a certain amount of time, if you're not allowed to carry it over.
Okay.
So the town only allows us to carry over 80 hours a week. If somebody has an excess, they can sell it back at the end of the year. The other thing is some longevity payments to different employees that are here over 10, 15 years. That are considered benefit buyouts at the end of the year. This is specific to retirements, resignations, have big benefit buyouts where they're all their accrued time, like sick leave and of that nature, are being paid out at the end of the year. We got hit with a couple of retirements earlier on when this was established, and really it hit the bank hard because people have been here 20, 25 years and accrued, 1,000 hours of sick time.
That was why this was created.
Yeah.
Really numb the budget. We had 3 people go 1 year and they were here for years.
Yeah. And so is this like, do we do an analysis on the tenure of our employees to determine that 50,000, or have we just been kind of putting money in a fund?
This has been a standard amount, correct me if I'm wrong. This has been a standard amount that they've been adding every year as a sort of capital improvements to keep that level. We are monitoring, the dips, the highs and lows of it. But we're not really getting a big heads up when
Right,
it's rare that we get a year's heads up for somebody that's actually going to retire or resign. So we're sort of
Lucky we get a few weeks or a month.
yeah, but we still have a lot of tenured people that
Mhm.
I guess would have an impact on the budget if they left.
Oh,
That
yes.
was, yeah, okay.
That was the problem years ago, is we couldn't hang on to the help.
now you can't
Swapped
get rid of
everything
this.
around. Now we've got help that's been here for 20 years, 25 years. It's made a big difference.
Right,
Currently, right now, there's not a lot of money in there.
Yeah.
okay, because of,
Yeah, it gets pretty well used up every year.
This thousand could be like one long term.
and so is it enough?
Oh.
Right now, I'm pretty sure it's clean.
Any discussion on that one? So the next one is the operating budget, and our next agenda item that we'll get to is to review the default budget, which is listed here. And do we have, I guess is one of the many handouts, I guess a summary of the full kind of budget do we get? I thought we got like a packet that had like basically the budget that got to this number.
We gave that to you at your last.
Okay.
I haven't been.
It's right here. I think it's that's what we'll review tonight, the default budget, but it might be one of the ones I just. Six, nine, yeah. If I gave you a copy tonight, it would be dated 12/16.
Yeah, I've got a 12/22/21 and I've got a 12/16.
The 12/22/21 is the default budget.
Okay,
If
gotcha.
you look at the top, they'll say general fund 2020 DEF.
Yep.
Default.
Okay, gotcha.
So again, we'll get into a discussion on the default budget, but any other discussion on this line? And then the next one, we basically break out the waterworks just because it's funded on its own. Is that why we break them out separate? Yeah. And so how is the default budget for that one created? Is that part of this
Part of
as
your
well?
actual
Okay.
regular default.
Okay, perfect. So again, we reviewed and voted on the water department budget individually. This would approving it for the article. I think it was one of the adjustments he gave us.
Just making sure that we, two projects out of the water department, but funded them this year at a surplus. We did. I just want to make sure that number was accurately.
Yeah, it is the 520,072.
Okay.
Yep.
That wasn't her book.
Oh. We good on the water department? So again, this next group gets into the individual items that make up that CIP spreadsheet. I don't know if you guys want to just scan through them and comment on any that you have questions on. That's the easiest way to go.
I don't think I-
This I did not. I think they handed them out at that meeting. It may not have been.
If it was the one when I was with my husband, no.
I thought it was our last meeting, but I can't remember if they handed out the full sheet or not. And I don't think this is even the most recent one, but essentially they build the list, like, so for a fire department, right? They actually inventory what the individual kind of items are that need to be replaced, kind of when the target replacement is, and then start to build a budget or a plan, right? To make sure that by the time they need it, they have money in the capital reserve to fund it. And so they, like, fire department's a good example because there's a number of things, right? So then they total, okay, how much do we need by year to accomplish all of these? And then use that to kind of base the warrant article to fund that specific capital reserve.
The idea of that is to keep the tax rate level instead of taking the spikes.
And the CIP committee looks to try not to have spikes even in the net total of these reserve funds. And so, I think even fire department's an example where they reduced the amount requested for 22 and kind of increased it in other years, or kind of juggled it around in other years to try to make that happen. And that was this. So this has changed, both with the tax rate change as well as some changes made to it. But this would be the total impact on the tax rate. And they've tried to keep that in that dollar range, a handful of years. I can see if I can get this, a copy of this electronically and get it to you. And so a number of these, again, with that focus on not having hits in the budget each year, they introduced some new funds. And so Article 12 and 13 are creating funds specifically for the purchase of the vehicles that they use for assessing in the building department. So stop me if I go too fast or speed me up if I go too slow. Article 16, I think it might have been one of the things we actually talked about last time. Do I understand that? Or am I interpreting that right? Yeah, where it's like paying off the fire truck. And so again, as we talked about, it's taking it from existing funds, so there's not an impact on the tax rate.
Was one of the interest savings too.
Right. Yeah, that was one of the adjustments you had shared with us last time.
It's almost $100,000 savings between calculated interest, $68,000 payment for the 2022 is in the operating budget. This pulls all of that out.
So then, Article 25 and 26, again, I think is it part of those discussions from last time where it's appropriating existing funds to make these purchases versus having them
So originally they were proposed in the operating budget as new leases.
New leases.
Trying to avoid paying the extended interest. Funding was there to purchase the items.
And because there's a need for them now, we're not establishing a capital reserve for them.
Right, these are replacements of equipment that, you know, needs to be replaced at this juncture.
So Article 27 is another example of a new fund created for the IT capital reserve. I guess 29 as well, Jones Field. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'd only like. Forever in the CIP.
Right,
Well, they were gonna put, it was in a lot of the budgets.
right.
What Josh was gonna do, and we decided to start a fund to, he can stay up with the computers and stuff.
Yeah, I think the purchase of.
Instead of scattering it through the
Device.
budgets.
I do remember that. I think that's why I thought it was new, because they changed the approach on it. Article 30. I just orient myself to this one.
This is a new one that came in last night. So the planning department, yes, you haven't seen it yet probably because the planning board brought this forward. With the planner, they presented this on the agenda last.
We have been working on the master plan for the town. She has been a consultant that's been working with us. But we're only on, I think it's section 3. Want to keep her for 2 more sections to finish up the master plan, and you'll see another one in here to help us write on the that committee for the zoning ordinances. Yep. It's coming this way as the tiny house community, cabin communities and stuff, so we're trying to get some ordinances set up. She's really been helpful and really good at her job.
And so the funds from this again come from a unassigned fund balance.
Yeah, that's a slush fund.
Oh, so 31 is the other one that you were talking about. And so it looks like 32 and 33 are just merging.
Yeah, closing one fund. It's gonna go into the general fund, then we could give it back to him to put into the regular fund that he wants.
Fortunately, that's what we do.
Right.
But solid waste ended up somehow with 2 capital reserves, one was specific to recycling. They don't use separate equipment for the 2, so
Right.
it was, instead, the other one is a solid waste. It covers the whole facility, so we're merging in some of that. Question about what the money.
Is 37 a new one as well?
Yes, that's from conservation, because we're trying to fix some of the runoff like Mill Pond down by the fire station across the street is contaminated water. A lot of it's coming from the runoff there. And we're trying to get a little fund started so we can get grants, state to go down and revamp it and put in the drainage that we need and stuff. That's what this is for, to fix different areas around this watersheds.
I think 39 is the one that we had talked about here. Adding the estimated tax to the warrant articles. And so starting with 40, are these the petition articles?
Those are, these are all the nonprofits,
Right,
but they're not petitions.
They're not petition,
No,
but-
petitions are the ones that public bring in.
Okay.
Signatures.
got it.
Yeah, we've had these for years.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I thought. I just was,
We haven't seen a we haven't seen a petition article yet. It's due for,
Knock on wood.
so that yeah, it's, all of ours have to be done by the 31st, so I think their petition warrant articles need 17.
are any of these charitable ones new this year, or are they?
So these are all continuations from last year. There was one I noticed that had a name change recently. Okay, so Granite VNA used to be Central New Hampshire VNA and Hospice. But we clarified that in the title anyway, so. But
Did the amounts increase or stay the same or for these from last year?
most of them are level funded.
There's like one, I think that's. I only like a couple. Like question. To make sure I have the right number.
Any questions or discussion on any of these? I do know last year there were questions on some of the, I guess, the justification for some of the numbers. Dave generally has those sorts of questions. I don't know if they'll come up in the public hearing or not. Did we receive that sort of information from
Like
that?
why they're asking for those, yeah, Stacy is.
Okay. Great. I don't want to rush anyone along, but don't want to make you wait if you're ready either. How are we doing?
Good.
All set on that? agenda item? So the next agenda item is the default town budget. And Laura, do you mind just giving an overview of kind of what the process is?
Okay, so the default is exactly like this year with changes that can be made. So if it's less because you cut something or a contract is less, you can make an adjustment or you can increase if it's have to have like a law or like retirement stuff like that.
Perfect.
Here's the water one. Should they include that with this? Here this-
It's very small, but
Water's a good example.
Yeah.
Our default, you see the notes on the side.
Thanks.
Their default is lower than what it is currently this year because there's been you can pull out one-time purchases on computer. The other reductions were they ended up replacing a truck and got a little better interest rate, lower payment. So we can make all those adjustments into the default.
You see like this in the election section, you really have no say over. Elections that happen, they have to be for.
And so, for example, moderator, again, that's based on how many elections there were in
Hmm.
one year versus the next, and because there's an extra election.
Benefits is how much you can do over that. Health, our health insurance.
And all that's
Your
contractual.
retirement plan quite a bit at the middle of last year, so this year's a full year, their rates.
Right.
They're mandated by law. So that's a lot of
And
that.
we all took a hit on that one.
For assessing is going down. because- Workers' compensation went down because they based our workers' comp on the hazard pay. They went back and revised that. Fire department increases because they added a full-time position mid-year.
So sorry, a question on the benefits. So when we do the benefits for the default, we wouldn't include the employees, the plan or the additional staff that's in the budget that we're
New
voting on.
positions.
Right, right. So it assumes level. Yeah,
If
okay.
they're already hired, they should have.
Right, right. Yeah, got it. Thanks. And so it shows the special articles, but standalone anyway, right? It doesn't carry them forward to the default, but they weren't in it to begin with, right?
Yeah, it's just on the page. There's no way you can tell the. There's probably more pages of.
Thank you for sparing us all the other ones then.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, yeah. So 346. Yeah, so essentially the benefits are the driver for the difference between the current budget and next year's. And we need to vote on this, right?
You vote on this number in your article, in Article 10.
As part of voting on that, okay. Perfect.
I'll have a breakdown of everything. State specific.
Yeah, I feel like there were last year.
Yeah. I'll have that.
No, I'll just have your name.
Yeah.
Fine. Any discussion on that? Alt budget? Any old business?
Nope.
Other business?
Is there anything else you think that you would need?
So is there anything we should need?
I wish I could bring my whole computer up here. If you never know, somebody's gonna ask you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that one of the big. Start talking about the warrant article. Questions on what thing in the capital reserve. So we're gonna article that we're gonna add $20,000. That's in the first thing. Somebody in the public will probably ask is, well, how much is in there now? So I know that usually comes up at deliberative all the time too, so
Yeah.
it's a figure in the public hearing.
And we put the sheets out that are in, what's in all the funds on the table, and they still ask it.
Okay. And the flow of that, again, last year was my first time doing it, and it was like, all the meetings blend together because they were like Zoom. And I would have paid more attention if I didn't know what I needed to. But we're essentially just gonna, it goes the same flow as this for the next week's meeting too, right? Like
We're
we
gonna read
just, yeah,
each one.
yeah, and then just ask for questions or comments. No, I don't, I'll let you know, I guess, between now and it comes out. Great.
I'll plan on being here as well, but I plan wouldn't be, unless you want the department heads up here. I can put it out to the other department heads, or I mean, through this process, I can speak to just about.
Yeah, I think,
Tell them not to put it. Need to be here if you'd like.
no, I think if you're comfortable speaking to it, and I guess it may be worth it to, I guess on the places where we have a significant change in the budget, I'm thinking like the highway department. I don't know if it makes sense to have.
That probably is not a
Yeah.
bad idea, because if anybody's got a lot on there, it's Scott's plan, so.
Highway and fire.
Right.
I mean, some of the department heads will be here anyways, because, but
Right.
that's something specific. I just-
Yeah, no, I think it's the ones that have the biggest change. It probably makes sense to, like, if people want to get into the details of any of it. We have the notes that we took, but we may not have asked the question that someone else is gonna ask, right? So. Great. And that's an in-person, right? Or would that be set up as a Zoom again? Yeah, okay.
So the Zoom meetings aren't allowed right now, by law.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because when during the state of emergency, the governor adjustments to 91A that allowed for the remote came out of the state of emergency, those executive orders expired.
Right.
Legally, we can't actually offer that, right?
Okay. Sounds good. Great. Anything else? I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
I like these meetings.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is a lot better than that 9 o'clock selection meeting.
Yeah, I have to do that. don't I?
Yes.
We can